There is an extremely bizarre murder case that could not confirm the identity of the deceased for decades, and the inscription on her tombstone only reads, "White female of unknown identity, died on November 1st, 1980. On November 1st, 1980, a truck driver discovered the body of a girl while passing through the Sam Houston National Forest. She was lying face down on the grass about 20 feet from the shoulder of Interstate 45, 2 miles north of Huntsville. The driver reported his discovery at 9:20 a.m. At this time, the victim had been dead for about 6 hours, so her time of death was determined to be around 3:20 a.m. A rectangular brown pendant was found on her neck, with a piece of smoky blue or brown glass stone hanging on a thin gold chain necklace. Her ears were pierced, but no earrings were found in her ears or at the crime scene. A pair of red high-heeled leather sandals with a light brown strap were also found at the scene, and investigators later found that the girl had been wearing these shoes while alive, and most of her clothes had disappeared. The deceased was about 5 feet 6 inches tall, weighing between 105 and 120 pounds, and the Harris County coroner described her as a well-nourished individual. Her eyes were light brown, and her hair was about 10 inches long, light brown, possibly with a touch of red tone, but there was no sign that her hair had been dyed. The deceased's fingernails were bare, and her toenails were painted pink. A prominent feature on her body was a 1.5-inch long vertical scar on the edge of her right eyebrow, and her right nipple was inverted. Due to the overall condition of the deceased's body, including her overall health, nutritional status, and good dental care before death, she was considered to come from a middle-class family. Her cause of death was also confirmed by the coroner to be asphyxiation caused by strangulation, possibly with pantyhose, fragments of which and the victim's underwear were found in the victim's vaginal cavity. The pantyhose and underwear may have been stuffed into the girl's vaginal cavity to prevent her body from bleeding and exposing traces when it was transported to the hiding place, and she was sexually assaulted by a large blunt object before death. It is difficult to guess whether the girl was raped in the traditional sense, because no biological evidence of sexual assault was found at the crime scene or during the subsequent examination of her body by the coroner. The girl was also severely beaten before death, with bruises all over her body, especially the lips and right eyelid were severely swollen. In addition, there was a deep and obvious bite mark on her right shoulder. Journalist Michael Hargraves suggested that the deceased might have been attacked and murdered by a female attacker rather than a male. His hypothesis is based on the fact that no semen was found on or inside the deceased's body or at the actual crime scene, and the only proven sexual assault on the girl was by forcibly inserting one or more objects into her body. Hargraves further elaborated on his hypothesis, saying that male sex offenders usually bite the sensitive parts of the victim's body, not the shoulder, and the occasional behavior of male murderers collecting souvenirs from the victim is also inconsistent with this case, because the necklace worn by Jarvis was still on her body. However, it is not known whether Jarvis was wearing other jewelry when she was murdered, and the fact that her ears were pierced but there were no earrings on her earlobes may negate this part of Hargraves' hypothesis. After an exhaustive appeal for witnesses and extensive media coverage of the murder case, many people told investigators that they had seen a girl who matched the description of the deceased within 24 hours before she was murdered. These people included the manager of the South End Gulf gas station and 2 employees of the Higgin End post-truck rest area, who all described the girl as wearing blue jeans, a dirty yellow sweater, and a white knitted sweater with a pocket that was obviously too large beyond her waist. The girl was holding high-heeled sandals with red leather straps. According to the first witness, the girl looked a bit disheveled and arrived at the South End Gulf gas station around 6:30 p.m. on October 31st. At this place, she got out of a Chevrolet Caprice sedan with a light-colored roof from 1973 or 1974, driven by a white male. The witness said that the girl asked for directions to the Alice Prison Farm of the Texas Department of Corrections. After receiving the instructions, the girl left the Gulf gas station on foot and was later seen walking north on Sam Houston Avenue. The girl later asked for directions to the Ellis Prison Farm of the Texas Department of Corrections, again at the Higgin End post-truck rest area next to Interstate 45, claiming that a friend was waiting for her at this place. In response, a waitress drew a map to the prison farm and gave it to the girl. This waitress told investigators that she suspected the girl was a runaway, and during their brief conversation, the girl told her that she was from Rockport or Aransas Pass, Texas. The girl also claimed to the waitress that she was 19 years old, and when the waitress doubted her claimed age and further asked if her parents knew where she was, the girl replied, "Who cares?" Because the witnesses all said that the girl's destination was the Ellis Prison Farm, the police set the next investigation target on those prisoners and staff, showing them the morgue photos of the victim, but no one could recognize her. According to a detective who handled this unsolved case in the 21st century, only one prisoner's age was similar to the victim. Investigators have never been able to establish a connection between the two, and investigators went to the Rockport and Aransas Pass areas to consult with law enforcement about any missing women who matched the physical description of the victim. Investigators also contacted the staff of schools in these two areas for the same purpose. Many Texas high school yearbooks were searched to find any known missing women whose physical characteristics match her description. There were no results, and at that time, there were no reports of missing young white women that matched the victim. Despite the efforts of the police and media in Rockport or Aransas Pass towns to find clues about the victim's identity, which failed to produce any fruitful clues about her identity, it is believed that she may indeed come from the area she said to the waitress at the Higgin End post truck rest the night before the murder. Thomas Bean, a detective from the Walker County Sheriff's Office, said of the murder of the unknown female corpse in Walker County and the murderer, "The person did this on purpose. Honestly, no one should be treated like this. If we can determine the identity of the victim, it is very likely that we can determine the identity of the suspect. At this point, I am willing to look everywhere. If there is a missing person in New York who looks like her, I am also willing to investigate." Until 1999, in order to conduct further forensic examinations on the body of the unknown female corpse in Walker County, including obtaining DNA samples from her body was exhumed. The second forensic examination of her body revised the possible age of the unknown female corpse in Walker County to 14 to 18 years old, and investigators said they believed the most likely age of the unknown female corpse in Walker County was between 14 and a half and 16 and a half. In November 2015, the Walker County Sheriff's Office officially reopened the case. DNA testing was also conducted on the red high-heeled leather sandals found at the crime scene, but the results were not disclosed. It was not until 2020 that the identity of the deceased was slowly confirmed. At that time, the Walker County Sheriff's Office cooperated with Othram to try to confirm the identity of the unknown female corpse in Walker County through genetic genealogy. The initial attempt to extract usable genetic material from her body was unsuccessful, but the test on the preserved tissue samples produced usable DNA, which was used to generate the victim's genetic profile and build a family tree. Through this family tree, the living relatives of the victim were identified and found. The DNA swabs of these people were used to confirm the identity of the unknown female corpse in Walker County in 2021. On November 9, 2021, the Walker County Sheriff's Office publicly announced the identity of the unknown female corpse in Walker County as 14-year-old Shirley Ann Jarvis, who ran away from Stewart, Minnesota in 1980. In fact, her identity was announced by forensic artist Carl Koppelman at the end of September 2021. He made several forensic reconstructions of the victim and announced to temporarily withhold her identity to give her family enough time to mourn in private. Jarvis's friends all called her Tati. She was taken away from her home and placed under state guardianship at the age of 13 because she often played truant and she ran away from home shortly after her 14th birthday. Her last contact with her family was a letter written to her mother from Denver in August 1980. In this letter, Jarvis expressed her frustration at being under state guardianship but indicated her ultimate intention to return home. During the official announcement by the police department, a statement from her family was read, thanking everyone who worked hard to confirm Jarvis's identity and provided the long-awaited, albeit painful answer to their questions about her whereabouts, and added that they were relieved that her identity had been confirmed. The statement also thanked those who visited her grave when her identity was not confirmed and emphasized the family's desire to bring the murderer to justice. As early as January 16, 1981, the unidentified girl was buried in the attic section of Oakwood Cemetery. Her funeral was held after an open-casket funeral, and she was buried in the cemetery within the city where her body was found. She was buried under a tombstone donated by the Morris Memorial. It was not until Jarvis's identity was officially announced that a new tombstone was erected in front of her grave, inscribed with her name, nickname, photo, and the inscription, "Never alone, deeply loved by many." The local police department is also actively monitoring other missing person reports, looking for any potential matches with the victim. Investigators have also sought help from the public through various online websites, news media, and television networks, hoping to obtain more clues for the investigation, but so far, none of these have successfully confirmed the identity of the murderer. The investigation into the Jarvis murder case is still ongoing, and investigators have said that discovering Jarvis's identity has given them some positive leads, which they are actively pursuing, but there has been no result to this day.